Today is the class is in memory of Jared Orchem, and we are going to learn about Simchat Torah. What is Simchat Torah? Simchat Torah will be this week. We have Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah. In the diaspora, it's two separate days. On Shmini Atzeret, we say East Coast service. It will be Wednesday night and Thursday will be Shmini Atzeret. The 8th day. And Simchat Torah is the day we complete the Torah. Will be Thursday night, we will be dancing with the Torah. And Friday morning, we will actually complete the Torah. We will read the last parsha of the Torah, Parshat Zot HaBracha, and we will read it. And then we will finish that. We will right away take out another Torah, and we'll open another Torah, and we read from at the beginning, Bereshit. And what amazing is, then in Judaism, we never stop. We finished. Now the person who finishes the Torah is called Chatan Torah. Chatan Torah means the groom of the Torah. The person who starts the first aliyah from Bereshit is called Chatan Bereshit. The groom of Bereshit, of the beginning. Who is the bride? Talking about the groom. So is the bride. The bride is the Torah. The Torah is the bride, and we are married to the Torah. You want to close the door? Thank you. Then Chatam Beresh, that's a two in a regular synagogue. This is considered the biggest honor, and people you auction this out. Hello. Good evening. You auction this out, and it's considered a very big honor to complete the Torah or to begin the Torah. But in our generations, if they show up in shul, it's already a big honor. Now, when it starts in Simchat Torah, where is it coming from? What's the holiday exactly? You look in the Bible, there is no Simchat Torah. I mean, Shmini Atzeres, the 8th day is in the Bible. After 7 days of Sukkot, you celebrate another day. But it's not written in the Bible that you complete the Torah. It's not written in the Bible you have to dance with the Torah. None of it. You look in the Talmud, it's not even in the Talmud. It comes after the Talmud. It's probably the Geonic time, much later. One of the sources for Simchat Torah, that means to say Simchat Torah is not a biblical holiday, not a rabbinic holiday. Even more, it's not a holiday that was done because of a certain miracle. No, Pesach is because we came out from Egypt. Shavuot is because of the miracle that God gave us the Torah. Sukkot is because the miracle that God took us out in the clouds of glory and protected us. Hanukkah is the miracle of the oil. Purim is the miracle from Esther, from saving us from Amen. Simchat Torah? What's Simchat Torah? Then the story of Simchat Torah begins. One of the proofs of Simchat Torah, there was a man who lived in Spain. His name was Binyamin of Tudela. Tudela was a city in Spain. And he decided, it was when he was 800 years ago, something like this, he decided to travel all over the world and to record Jewish communities. It was today we say call it, I don't know what you call it. There's a name for it. You go from community to community and you discover what's going on. And he, for example, writes about the Falashi Jews, the Ethiopians. He traveled, I think, for 13 years, 12 or 13 years. And he wrote a book. It's called Masaot Binyamin, The Travelings of Benjamin. And there he writes that he came to a city in Egypt. I think it was Cairo or Alexandria, one of the. And which city he came? Okay, it doesn't like which place exactly. In any case, he came to Egypt and he found two synagogues. Surprise, surprise. that one doesn't walk into the other synagogue. There was a synagogue of the people, the Israelites, the people from Israel, and there was the Babylonian Jews. Now, in general, after the destruction of the first temple, Jews were exiled to Babylon, right? And the first were exiled, the prophet Yechezkel, and they established a very strong Jewish community. Every Jew walked in, joined the crowd, you understand? The first people who come to a country, the way they set it up, that's where it's going to go. In America, the first Jews who came here were not traditional Jews. That anybody who came after adjusted himself to go there. Oh, in America it's different. Oh, in America you don't have to keep Shabbos. Oh, came a Jew from Europe with his stars in film, and he has like a big of food, and he wants to. No, his friends or his family greeted him in Ellis Island. No. That's not in America. Things are different. No, we don't do this. We don't do. He's going to fight in the whole world. Don't do. The previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, when he came to America, he coined the phrase, America is no different. You are a Jew in Europe, you'll be a Jew in America too. We had yeshivas in Europe, we'll have yeshivas in America too. No such thing as America, because the statement was, America is different. America things are different. It's not going to work here. When he went off the boat, he announced the first day, in the airport, where it was off the boat, it was not the airport, it was right there on the port, he announced that he's opening a yeshiva. The same day, two of his biggest supporters brought him to America with a lot of money. Told him, Rebbe, they came into it, Rebbe, we don't want you to be embarrassed, it's not going to work here. It's just not going to work. People tell you, yeah, they get excited for 5 minutes, but America is a place that people get excited very fast, and they cool off very fast. Then he said that night, before he went to sleep, he was crying. He was thinking to himself, if my biggest supporters tell me it's not going to work, but he didn't change his mind because of this. He was right. In Babylon, the Jews came to Yechezkel, the prophet, and the rabbis, the elite of Jerusalem was exiled before the destruction of the first temple. They set up shop in Babylon the right way. That Babylon established a strong Jewish community. And they became stronger and stronger. They overpowered the original Israeli community. In Israel, the Wotzores was much harder to be a Jew. The learning was also suffered from it. Where in Babylon, they enjoyed relative freedom that they were able to establish the yeshivas, and Judaism flourished. That the Israelites, the Israelis did not like the Iraqi Jews. The Babylonian Jews were second-class citizens. Treated terribly. There are stories in the Talmud you understand. Hillel, the famous Hillel, came from Iraq, from Babylon. They treated them like nobody. Finally, they needed a rabbi. He was not a rabbi. If you have no choice, you have to take him. But then back to Egypt, there were two Jews, the Israeli Jews and the Babylonian Jews. And both of them had two customs how to read from the Torah. The Israeli Jews used to read the Torah every parsha in 3 weeks. Let's say the first parsha, Bereshit. We're going to start it this week. This Saturday they would read a third of the parsha. Next Saturday the second third of the parsha. Next Saturday the third third of the parsha. They would finish one parsha in 3 weeks. The second parsha would take another 3 weeks. There is 55 parshas, 54 parshas. Then it's 165 Saturdays. Took 3.5 years around, roughly, to finish the whole Torah. Not like there is in some synagogues that they read a third of the parsha, but they skip from parsha to parsha. The problem with this is you never hear the story. You read about how God created heaven and earth, fine, yeah. And then you read Noah, where is Noah coming from? Who created Noah? How is he in the picture? But if at least they would read the Torah in order, they would be much better. In any case, that was the Israeli custom. Then he writes it was a Babylonian custom to finish the Torah in 1 year, to read every Shabbos a full parsha. Then this idea of finishing the Torah in 1 year is relatively a new story. Even 800 years ago, there were still Jews who were holding on to the other tradition. That's the way we did it. That's the way. Over the time, the Babylonian Jews won almost everything. With the arguments with the Israeli Jews, that the center of Judaism was in Babylon, and they had the money, they had the great rabbis, The Israelis were fighting and fighting and fighting. Basically what happened is the Jewish community in Israel was dwindled down to nothing. For 1,000 years there was almost no Jews in Israel. Then it was only Babylon. Then from there comes the whole idea of reading the Torah in 1 year. From Babylonian Jews. And therefore when you finish the Torah in 1 year, when you read the Torah, you finish the Torah, it's a time to celebrate. That's why we celebrate Simchat Torah. But the real question is, let's say you finish the Torah in 1 year. Fine, the Torah should be in 1 year. But why Simchat Torah? Wouldn't it be better to start the Torah right after Rosh Hashanah and to finish it right before Rosh Hashanah? That would make sense. Why Simchat Torah? What do you think? What does this to do with Hoshana Rabbah? Other Rabbah, tell me. Then let's learn about a certain mitzvah in the Torah. Almost by the end, not by the end, but almost by the end. It's in Parshas Vayelech, I think. Page 371. Actually, we start to page 370. That gives us better the context of the story. In top of page 370, number 7. Go ahead.
Moshe called Yeshua and said to him, as all of Israel watched, be courageous and bold, for you shall enter with this people into the land that Adonai swore to their forefathers to give them, and you will apportion it to them. And Adonai is the one who is going ahead of you. He will be with you, will not enfeeble you, and will not abandon you. Do not fear and do not quake. Moshe wrote this Torah and gave it to the Kohanim, descendants of Levi, who carry the ark of Adonai's covenant, and to all the elders of Israel.
Then Moses called Joshua and told them, be strong and courageous. Don't give up. God is with you. And he gave the Torah, he wrote down the Torah, and he gave it to the children of Levites. Later before he died, he gave every tribe, but clearly he gave it to the Levites. Then Moses gives them an interesting law, an interesting mitzvah. Go ahead.
Moses commanded them, saying, after 7 years have ended, on the holy day of the Shemitah year, during the Sukkot festival.
Okay. You know, this year is a Shemitah year. This is the beginning of a Shemitah year. But here he's speaking about, in the end, what he's talking about is the end of the Shemitah year. End of next year, so to speak. Sukkot of next year. Go ahead.
When all of Yisrael comes to be seen in the presence of Adonai your God, in the place that he chooses, you shall read this Torah, facing all of Yisrael for them to hear.
When the whole Jewish people used to come to see, every holiday had to come to the temple, right? Then you should read the Torah to them. Here it's written that you should read the Torah to them almost every time, but soon we'll see what is going on here. Number 12.
Assemble the people, the men and the women, the infants, and your convert who is in your towns, in order for them to hear and in order for them to learn, to fear Hashem your God, that they will make sure to fulfill and the statements of this Torah.
Okay, very good. Here is a mitzvah, it's called Akel. Akel is a mitzvah to assemble, to gather the whole Jewish people. To do what? It says whom? Men, women, and infants. There is no other mitzvah that infants are involved, are obligated to be a part of it. Do you recall anywhere in the Torah about infants? Not children.
Other than circumcision.
Circumcision, you're right.
It's only boys.
You're right, here is everybody. And you convert. Who is your convert? What's convert means? Convert is not a converted person. A stranger. Stranger means, you know, in Israel they could accept Gentiles who believe in God and accept the 7 Noahide laws. Even this guy is invited. To come what? The convert that's in you, who is in your town, in order for them to hear and in order for them to learn, to fear Hashem. Means this event is to hear and learn to fear God. And they will make sure to fulfill all the statements of this Torah. Look Rashi number 12. The men
to
learn.
To learn. The women
To listen.
And the infants, why did they come? To bring merit to those who brought them.
Okay. Because the Talmud had a question. Infants? Why infants? But I think the Torah really gave the answer. So they should learn to fear God. Every holiday, 3 times a year, we had to go to Jerusalem. Men, according to some opinion, we had one land in Israel. Only men and only one land. How many people came? And then there is, if you're too old and you're too this, you have many excuses not to come. Once in 7 years, there was no excuses. Everybody had to show up, no matter who you are. Men, women, children, babies, infants. You're schlepping a baby that was born 2 months ago from Tzfat to Jerusalem. If it's not dangerous, you have an obligation to bring him to the temple. For what? The question is, what does he understand? The older kid, you can say, they learn, they understand, they will fear God, they'll remember the experience. But babies, to reward, bring the people who bring them. For reward, you can bring many people, you can give many opportunities for reward. Obviously, there is something here. And then he continues in number 13.
And their children who did not understand will hear and will learn to fear Hashem your God all the years that you are living on the land that you are crossing the Jordan there to inherit.
Okay, you're bringing all the to learn, to listen. You can imagine the whole Jewish people is coming to the temple. What's going on there? A balagan. Babies are crying. Who is listening? Who is saying? Before the days of microphones and speakers. You don't learn, you don't hear, you don't... Gurnished. You're busy with your baby who is crying on your end. You're not going anywhere. You're not learning anything. I can sign on it from experience, I'm telling you. You don't learn anything. Then what was the Akel? Akel was a special thing by the end of Shemitah, the end of the sabbatical, once in 7 years. The whole nation came together, and the king used to get on a special platform, special stage. He used to stand, or if he was a king from the house of David, he used to sit there and read chapters from the book of Deuteronomy. Akel was an experience of Mount Sinai all over again. That's what Akel. Re-experiencing, reenacting Mount Sinai. And by Mount Sinai, who was there? Everybody was there, right? Mm-hmm. Men, women, and children. Everybody came to Mount Sinai. Because it was not about... What was in Mount Sinai? God said the 10 Commandments. Is anything new in the 10 Commandments? Oh, the Jewish people say, oh, do not kill. Oh, really? Wow, do not kill. Wow, that's really news. I never heard about that. I thought you have to kill. Cain and Abel. Cain killed Abel, right? One of the arguments, the Speracious, right? Why? It's written in the Bible, Cain killed Abel. Then God told Cain, I will protect you. Anybody who will kill you will be punished. What do you care? God had to kill him. Shofech dam adam be'adam, damo yishafech. If a person spills blood, right there it's written, his blood should be spilled. Basically, a person should be punished with death. Then who is the first one to kill? Cain. That Cain, instead of being killed, so to speak, God protected him. God said, anybody who will kill you will be killed. It's not fair. Then the Medrash said something amazing. Cain said to God, yeah, I was angry with Abel. I want to beat him up. But then I saw him laying on the floor. He said, Abel, get up. He's not moving. I never knew that you can kill a person. It's almost like a child who sees the first time experience somebody dying. He suddenly, this man, a minute before, was it open eyes, then a minute later, it closed eyes, and that's it. Cain had a great argument. Cain said, what do you want from me? I didn't know what this means. And therefore God said, you're right. We cannot punish you. You didn't know. And that's a great lesson of encouragement and defending the Jewish people of our generation. Cannot be angry with anybody. 95% of the Jewish people were not born in religious homes. They don't know anything. Knowing in a way that you are raised with it, that's what I mean to know. Anything that comes to you as an adult is already something, it's a secondary thing, it's not you. You cannot blame anybody for anything. You didn't know, what do you want from them? Then who is only can be blamed? The religious boys, religious kids who were born in religious homes. If anybody, it's them. But anybody else cannot be blamed for anything. Then then what was not to kill? That from the beginning, not to kill was something everybody knew. They came to the Ten Commandments, do not kill. Oh, that was profound, God. Whoa. Do not steal. I never heard this. To a point, the Jewish people could almost be disappointed. The whole Moses built up the excitement. But it wasn't about the information, it was about the experience. They heard God. They made a commitment to God. They had the fear of God, the love of God. It was a person walked away from Mount Sinai. It became clear that there is a God and we have to live by His rules. The details don't make a difference. The same thing is in Akel. Akel was not something that you do. It was not for the information. What the king did, he read from the book of Deuteronomy. I can sit in my couch and read the book of Deuteronomy too, but I need the king to read it for me. And could be in some cases other people could read much better than the king. I'm telling you, there were kings who were not, the reading skills were not 150%. But it's the experience, the old Jewish people recommits themselves to Judaism. That was what's so special. And for this, just like on Mount Sinai, you need to have everybody, men, women, children, old, young, everybody. The same thing was once in 7 years was at least, was really a Mount Sinai experience. That's Akel. Now in the diaspora, we do not have, after the destruction of the first temple, Akel is like the Jubilee. Only when the majority of the Jewish people are there, you're obligated to observe the mitzvah of Akel. What the Rebbe used to say, that the concept of Akel, what's the concept of Akel? Gathering people and speaking to them about God, about the fear of God, about the commitment to Judaism. The Rebbe said that has to be done every year, every 7th year. Then the year after the sabbatical, the Rebbe called it a year of Akel, not just one-time experience. And he encouraged many gatherings as possible. People come together and recommit themselves to Judaism. And the experience when you have many people together is much stronger when you have it by yourself. You know, the joy, if you have a wedding of 10 people, or you have a wedding of 100 people, where is the greater joy? 100 people or 200 people? The greater the crowd is, the more the excitement is in the air. The same thing when we learn about, we take the commitment about God. On Mount Sinai, it's written, if it would be missing one Jew, the Torah wouldn't be given. God wanted everybody there. No, somebody has a big family. They're making a reunion. If one didn't show up, he killed it. Yeah, was everybody there? Almost everybody. One was missing. So what? Who cares? 100 of the family members were there. No, one was. It's still not this. That's what the whole idea of Akel. Then the Abarbanel, Don Isaac Abarbanel, he was a finance minister in Spain, right? And he wrote a commentary to the Bible. It's interesting. He was the finance minister in Spain. During his time was the expulsion of Spain. It shows us, we think, oh, we have connection. The finance minister, the whole economy in Spain was dependent on him. They throw out all the
He
Jews.
lived at the same time as Maimonides?
After.
Oh, yeah.
The Spanish expulsion was 500 years ago.
1492.
1492. Very famous date, exactly. Maimonides lived 800 years ago. And it's a few hundred years after that. He wrote a commentary to the Bible. And he writes there something very interesting. He writes that he read in books, that's what he writes, that every Sukkot, the king, there's 5 books of Moses. You know that the 5 books of Moses are also divided into 7 books. there is one book of 2 lines, in Baalotcha, Vayi bin so Aaron. You know this line, Vayi bin so Aaron, Vayomer Moshe. This comes from the book of Bamidbar, in the Parshas Baalotcha. And there it's written that this is considered a book by itself. Basically, the 5 books of Moses are in a certain calculation divided into 7 books. He says that the king used to read every Sukkot some of the Torah, a book, let's say, from the 7 books. Came the Shemitah, by the end of the Shemitah, by the 8th year, by the Sukkot of the 8th year, he completed the Torah. Therefore, he read it Deuteronomy. Even the Jewish law says he didn't read all the way to the end of Deuteronomy, but this says he basically completed the Torah. That in a certain way, it was Simchat Torah already in biblical time. You understand what I'm saying? Not every year, once in 7 years. But it was the concept of completing the Torah, and now they did it in a big event, in a big to-do. That's how it was done. He says this is the source for Simchat Torah. Why the rabbis chose to finish the Torah by the end of Sukkot, so to speak? Because Akel used to be in Sukkot. That they connected the same, because in Akel, the king used to kind of finishing the Torah and make a big celebration. They said that would be the right way to finish the Torah by the end of Sukkot and make a big celebration.
Is that because Sukkot is kind of the finishing holiday, so to speak? Too?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a finishing holiday, and it's a time of celebration. It's rejoicing. Sukkot is a time of rejoicing. Then the time to finish the holiday, and because they used to do it then in the Bible, even it's not the same thing, not even close, but still something. Once in 7 years, the Torah was celebrated. Then that's the time to celebrate the Torah. And just like in Akel, everybody used to come, men, women, and children. So to Simchat Torah, when we come to celebrate the Torah, we need to have everybody. And just as in Akel, it wasn't a matter of how much you learn and how much you understand. There is a strange thing about Simchat Torah. In the night, right, we don't read from the Torah. We take out the Torah, wrapped. What? A person says, oh, you're rejoicing the Torah, open it and learn from it. No! We're closing it, we dance around with it. First of all, the whole idea that people dance with a book of law is a strange idea. You ever saw somebody dancing with the Constitution? Another religion that dances with their books? I never saw such a thing. They revere it, but they don't dance with it, don't celebrate with it. The secret of the Jewish people is found in Simchat Torah. Because the Jewish people, as we said in the beginning, created the holiday. It wasn't the holiday that was in the Bible, it wasn't in the Talmud. We created it. We wanted a day to celebrate with the Torah, to rejoice with the Torah. Isn't strange? Jews, after so much suffering over the 2,000 years, would have today a day of fasting, not a day of celebration. They celebrate. Are you crazy? Why are you celebrating it? Because it's a love story. The secret for our survival is Simchat Torah. And that's why I mentioned that many times. In America, when all the Jews go to shul, and you keep on. You come to shul, first of all you're hungry. Then there is long service at the chazan makes you a hole in your head. And then the rabbi goes on and on and on and on and on. When you leave the shul, you're not coming back. The only time you come back is again Yom Kippur when you feel you must to come back. Like once a guy told me in shul, Rabbi, every time I hear the same song. I told him, what's the song? It was Mikol Nidre. He was making it as a joke, but the joke fitted him, you know what I mean? He's a Kol Nidre Jew type of thing. In Russia, the Jews used to come to celebrate on Simchat Torah. In St. Petersburg, in Moscow, thousands of Jews used to come in the 60s, in the 70s. Thousands, the streets were packed with Jews. If you come to Simchat Torah, what's Simchat Torah? No speeches, no reading from the Torah, no long services, drinking and dancing. Oh, that's a holiday you want to belong to. That's a nation you want to be a part of. And then they came again and again. Then really the Judaism, the idea of Simchat Torah is the secret of the Jewish people. That we on our own created a holiday to celebrate the Torah. Jews don't, other nations don't celebrate it a book of law. Then people, there is lawyers, there is judges, they celebrate it, dance with it. They kiss it, they hug it. Because for us it's more than just a book, it's our life. That's what Simchat Torah is all about. And that's why it's doesn't, like in Hakel, it wasn't about how much you hear, how much you didn't hear. Who cares? Nobody heard the word. The king was there, and sometimes probably an old king was reading. Nobody heard anything. Thousands of people, kids crying. But were you in Hakel or were you not there? Nobody asked you at Mount Sinai, what you learned. You were at Mount Sinai, you were not Mount Sinai. That's the question. You were there or you were not there. And that's what Simchat Torah is all about. Coming together and celebrating and getting excited about the Torah. That's this idea that the link between Simchat Torah and Hakel is an amazing idea that Abarbanel came up with. And I just found that today somebody brought it down. And I discovered that it's unbelievable, the connection between these two. And it explains, always bothered me, why in Sukkot? You finish the Torah in 1 year, but why not in Shavuos? Shavuos would be the time to complete the Torah. Why Sukkot? Because the time to celebrate the Torah, the time to rejoice it, in the temple used to come together, that was on Sukkot, that was the holiday to do it. Now, there is another thing about it. There are 3 holidays: Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. We mentioned that in other occasions, that on Pesach, it's not written to celebrate. It's not written the word rejoicing, V'samachto. It's written, it's a holiday, but Hashem doesn't say in the Torah that you have to rejoice yourself on Pesach. On Shavuos, it's written 1 time you have to rejoice yourself. On Sukkot, it's written 3 times you have to rejoice yourself. Why is it? Pesach is the time that you sowed your fields, right? That's the beginning of the season. Well, it's time to rejoice. You're just starting. You're not celebrating. Let's see how things work out, then we'll celebrate. We're just beginning. Who knows how the year is gone? Shavuos is the time of the harvest. You cut the produce from the field. You're more happy, but you're in the middle of the work. You don't have a day, you don't have a night. Sukkot and everything is in the storage house. And you're getting ready for the winter, and you look back and you see the whole... That's a time for rejoicing. That's why in Sukkot it's written 3 times rejoicing. That's why when you look for a time to make Simchat Torah, when you want to rejoice at the Torah, when people have patience to rejoice, have a need for rejoicing, is when everything is taken care of. In life, we have also 3 stages. Pesach is compared to the birth of the Jewish people. That's how the prophet describes it. Ezekiel, he describes the birth of the Jewish people. Pesach is the birth of the Jewish people. We were created as a nation. Leidat Am Yisrael. In the life of a human being, when he's born, we celebrate, right? But not too much. You know why? Because you don't know how this little baby will grow up. Will it be a benefit for humanity? Or he will be a pain? Or he'll grow up to be a gangster? We don't know what's going to be with him. That's why it's not written rejoicing on Pesach. Shavuos, what would be Shavuos compared in the life of a human being?
Bar mitzvah?
Bar mitzvah. Shavuos, we received the Torah, we made a commitment. Na'aseh v'nishma, right? We will listen, we will do. That's a bar mitzvah boy, gets up to the Torah, and he gives a speech, and he says, I will commit, and everybody tells him, you're now joining the army of Hashem, and you make a commitment. It's a time to rejoice. But you know what? I wouldn't make such a big party, because commitment is nice. Let's see how he pays it off, the commitment. What's Sukkot? What happened between Shavuos and Sukkot by the Jewish people? In Jewish history, after they received the Torah, the golden calf. Golden calf was a crisis, a huge crisis. The Jewish people worshipped idols. But what happened after that? They repented. Then Sukkot is after the repentance experience, so to speak, after Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. You went through a crisis, You survived it, and you're moving on, and your commitment is even stronger. Now is a time for rejoicing. Now it's a time for celebration in a person's life. When a person, in a marriage, the wedding is very nice, everybody's so happy and so cute and so beautiful. But then when you go through a crisis and you survive the crisis and you still move on, that's the time that you can say that your commitment is true. And that's why Sukkot is a time of rejoicing, and that's why Simchat Torah, that's all the explanation why Simchat Torah is by the end of Sukkot. Because the whole 3 seasons, the whole 3 holidays, the first holiday in the Jewish calendar, the first holiday is Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. When you pass Sukkot, by the end of Sukkot, you can look back, you cross the bridge, and you're still around. Now it's time to celebrate. And that's really what Simchat Torah is all about. The Simchat Torah is a very exciting holiday. Now by Hasidim, we will do akafot, we will dance with the Torah, not only on Thursday night. Here we will have also dancing on Wednesday night with the 3.5 people showing up. We will dance with them. Not such a long dancing because people are not made here for two nights of dancing. But in a Hasidic synagogue, everywhere in the world, there will be a kafot on Shmini Atzeres night. Then will be a kafot on Simchat Torah Wednesday night, Thursday night, and Friday morning, 3 times. Because the more you love the Torah, the more you're excited about it, the more opportunities you look to dance with it. And we used to go on Simchat Torah, the Rebbe used to send out, and Hasidim go all over the world to all different synagogues. Used to walk for 3-4 hours to come to a synagogue, usually in a regular synagogue, a Simchat Torah night, and since small synagogue in Queens or in Brooklyn somewhere, a few older people come to shul, they take out the Torah, they make one circle. Oh, I'm tired, let's go home. Used to come in 10 or 15 young people and revive the place. And the Rebbe said, this was the mission, to go to Jews and to bring them the joy of Simchat Torah to those community. It's to walk hours and then walk back hours because it's Yom Tov. Sometimes you got eggs and us. I myself got once an egg while we were walking from one of the apartments. You know where it's coming. Right? And you're in your whole suit and everything. Sometimes it was raining for hours. You used to walk in the rain. For hours, you come back, your black hat, your whole face is black. Everything goes straight to the garbage. Worthless. Once the Rebbe gave l'chaim to everybody who went to the Ta'aluch, it's called. And a guy came with a dry head. The Rebbe asked him, "How is your head dry?" He said he went home to change it. Okay, he gave him. He changed it already. He was quick. But the Rebbe was very important because he said that's our commitment to go. That's how you train yourself to be in the army of God. Like there is a training period. When you're going to the army, you cannot be in a bad time in the army. Yeah, I joined the army of God, really. But then bringing the joy of Simchat Torah to other Jews, it was like, and the more you have excitement, that's what Hasidim are all about. And they get excited about the Torah, and the joy of the Torah. That's what kept the Jewish people going. The Simchat Torahs, not the Yom Kippur, the Simchat Torahs. We are not against Yom Kippur. We are all for it. It's a very good night, a very important day to be. A lot of Jews come to shul. But the love, the joy of the Torah, that was the fuel for the Jewish people.
What's the connection between Simchat Torah and Ezra's reading of the Torah?
Who says there is a connection?
I don't know.
When Ezra read the Torah? On Rosh Hashanah, no?
I'm not sure.
He later told them, go home and eat, and because it's a day of rejoicing to Hashem, right? They cried, and he told them it was Rosh Hashanah. Ezra actually read the Torah on Rosh Hashanah, I'm almost sure.
He only read it one time, right?
It was a one event. It was like an Akil event.
Mm-hmm.
He gathered everybody. He told them the rules, and they all cried, and they all recommitted themselves to Judaism.
Why do you think there is no command in the Torah itself to read the Torah on a more regular basis?
That's actually, there is written, you should learn the Torah and you should not forget and you should do it and constantly. V'shinatam levanecha v'dibart bam v'shivtecha v'yitecha v'lechtecha. That's on the Torah.
But I mean, there's no set kind of regular readings like we have today in that sense.
It's written that Moses established for the Jewish people that shouldn't be 3 days without Torah. That's why we read the Torah on Mondays, on Thursdays, and on Shabbos.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that it's curious that two different patterns would develop, reading the Torah, a third of the Parsha, getting through a Parsha in 3 weeks, and getting through a Parsha in 1 week. I mean, that seems odd to me that there would be that kind of a deviation.
I mean, it's not, I'll tell you, Moses said every 3 days you should learn Torah, but Moses didn't say which parsha, you understand?
Okay,
As long as you learn Torah, you're covered.
okay. This is
Ezra,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Ezra made it should be 3 aliyahs. That every Monday and Thursday should be at least 3 aliyahs. 3 people should be called up to the Torah. And on Shabbat you should have 7 aliyahs. But the idea of every 3 days, it's written, the Jewish people walked for 3 days and they couldn't find water. The Torah is compared to water. You cannot survive 3 days without water, so too you cannot survive 3 days without the Torah. The idea is to have the Torah for 3 days. But I think the Babylonian custom, because the original custom was also, I don't think that the idea of in 3.5 years finishing the Torah started with Moses. It was later, you understand what I'm saying? That how in Babylon they started to read the whole Torah in one year, maybe they felt that people forget. 3.5 years is too long, you understand? When you come to 3.5 years later, especially by the life of young children, young people, is like a lifetime. Noah, who is Noah? What?
So short of, obviously there weren't any fax machines there or emails, so obviously you have to disseminate that recommendation.
Oh, little by little, yeah.
So I remember that there was this goes back a couple decades, that it might have been the Ethiopian Jews, or it might have been a group in India who claimed to be Jewish, and the Israelis uncovered this, and one of the ways they knew that they were authentic is they just said, let's go with them to Shul on Shabbos and see which Parsha they're going to read. And the Parsha that they were going to read was on target.
Was it really?
Yeah.
It's an interesting story. I never heard that. Wow. You're right. If you read the right Parsha, you are for sure on target.
Yeah.
But even if they would read the Parsha, the Torah, even if they wouldn't read exactly the same Parsha, if they can read in Hebrew the Torah, they are on target. But it's interesting. But I think it was no more than that. The Israelis were all done to their custom. People were Jewish people are very jealous for their customs. That's one of the secrets, by the way, of survival. It's a strange thing. We have so many different customs. It creates so many fights. Wish the rabbis didn't get together, said let's wipe it all out. It's not on. Everybody the same and finish, be one big happy family. You know why? Because if we all of us have the same custom, hey, don't bother. We like the churches with 30,000 people in a church. The rabbi said, stand up, sit down, finished. But if I know that I have a custom that you guys don't have, and my father tells me, your custom, you better preserve it because all these guys, they don't understand. We do it. Then I have something that it's so dear to me. I know if I will not do it, it will be forgotten. My commitment to my custom, my fighting for my custom, that's what keeps me going. And that's why it was so important, even it creates fights among the Jewish people. It's still worth it. Because the excitement that people have for their custom and not for your custom, that's what keeps going. And therefore, even when the Babylonian Jews decided to do it once a year, I can see the Israeli Jews said, my father was reading this way, my king, when the Jew, there is in Israel now the sabbatical year. Jews were never in Israel. After World War II, even before World War II, Jews came to Israel in the 30s and before he started to settle the land. The rabbis told him, no, this year is a sabbatical. He looked on the rabbi, sabbatical. My father was a farmer in Poland. I never heard of such a thing. What are you talking about? There is many other laws to give tithe on the food and so on and on. The first 3 years you cannot eat on the food. Many laws are, some of them apply in the diaspora, but most of them don't. That it was a very hard thing to convince the Jews who made Aliyah to Israel that there is things that they don't know because it was not practiced in the diaspora. They said the rabbi is making up stories, he's just giving us another time. I never heard it. I went to shul all my life. I never heard of such a thing. And usually, if you went to shul all your life and you never heard of such a thing, your judgment is the right judgment. But if you are coming to a different place and it's the Jews in the diaspora never used it, then you don't know from there. Then it's not surprising to me that the Jews hold on to 3.5 years a custom. But you needed it once a year. You know, I see it here in Hebrew school. The kids are, a year passes, Abraham, look at you like, huh? No, yeah, I remember the guy from the flood, he tells me. Oh, Abraham Lincoln, I mean, they don't know. Then I think that this was the logic of the Babylonian custom. Then 3.5 years is too far. You're stretching it out, you forget everything. And think about that. We learn that every year, again and again and again. And we every year find new things. Mm-hmm. People who learn for 60 years, since the Cheder, since day one, they learn the Parsha. Every year they discover new things. Every day they discover new things. And that's what Simchat Torah is all about. And that's why we are so excited. We are so lucky that God gave us the Torah. I could choose another nation, give it to somebody else. That when a person wakes up in the morning and thinks that he is a part of the nation who received the Torah, there is 7 billion people in the world. From this there is 13 million Jews, 14 million, 15 million Jews. Then we got inherited the Torah. And God gave us to share it with the rest of the world, but He gave it to us. And from these 13 million Jews, there is maybe half of them who know that there is, more oriented with the Torah. And we are one of them. That really a Jew, when he wakes up in the morning and he remembers that who he is, and to jump out of bed with his pajamas and begin dancing. Or because people think you're a Meshuggah, and your wife think you went out of your mind. Therefore we don't do it. But really, that's how it would have to be. Then this is Simchat Torah, is the time to express the joy and the love and the gratitude we have to God for giving us the Torah.